drive to right field. This ball is gone. Gone and into the history books.
The Seattle Mariners, Felix Hernandez, the 2-2. He got it! 34 years, 119 games. It's finally happened. A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner. It was done by the King.
And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on and line down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. And they are going crazy at the Kingdom.
Welcome to the Corner of Edgar and Dave, your Seattle Mariners baseball podcast. I'm Jacob, here with my brother Nick, and we are back for another season. This is our 5th season of the Corner of Edgar and Dave, Nick. I will say this, last season, pretty scuffed. I don't know, should I have brought that up? It's too late. I already did it.
Yeah, well, way to bust the beans.
We missed, the best Mariners season since we've been alive, basically. Except for the ones where we actually, well, I don't know. We were alive for when they won 116 games. Okay, we missed out on podcasting during the best season of our adult lives. I'd say that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate.
But it's worth noting that that's probably exactly the experience that most Mariners fans had.
Right. Well, we're probably just bad luck. We're probably just bad luck. So now that we're podcasting again for this season, it's probably just gonna be a shit show. If you've been on Mariners Twitter at all, if you've been on the Mariners socials, you would already think it's a shit show, right? It's literally this is game 7 tonight. Currently recording on the evening of April 5th when we lost to the Angels.
The season is over.
Yeah, so we've lost the first 2 series, and we've only won 2 games. We have 2 wins and 5 losses now.
Yeah.
So and literally Mariners social media, Mariners fan base is losing their mind.
I'm gonna assume we're going into rebuild mode. We're probably trading Julio for peanuts pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is basically the end of our lives.
Right. I think we should probably just trade Julio for Nelson Cruz at this point.
For peanuts, like I said.
Yeah, so it's been another great, a lot of moves in the offseason, a lot of unfulfilled wishes, essentially, by Mariners fans. And it kind of happens that way, right? So you have this playoff season, everything goes great, first time you made playoffs in 2 decades, and then you expect to make all these moves, you supposedly have all this money, and it's kind of funny because I think one of the news stories that Mariners fans I've really latched onto that came out over this season, is I think Forbes or something like that named them as one of the most profitable franchises in baseball, and one of the highest on the rise as well. And so Mariners fans are okay, if we're profitable, we're on the rise, we're going to start spending money and we're going to bring in big free agents and all that jazz. And that kind of just didn't happen. Who was our biggest free agent signing? AJ Pollock, right? It just didn't happen that way. So they did make moves through trades, right? They brought in Teoscar Hernandez, Colton Wong.
So it's really important to note the kind of season and potential offseason we're going into. So the potential offseason we're going into and the plan moving forward. So going into the offseason, the Mariners basically said, we, as an organization, don't like acquiring free agents. Mm-hmm. Generally, for the most part, they haven't worked out for us, other than Robinson Cano and Nelson Cruz. Name another free agent that's worked out for us in the last 15 years. What they want to do is draft, player value through drafting and trading, which is what they did during the offseason. And if you pay attention moving forward, this upcoming draft for the Mariners is going to be fucking insane. I don't know if you've caught on to this, or like what the Mariners' plan is for the next draft, but we have draft pick 25, 26, 28, and 31. That's 4 first
That's what I like to
rounders
hear.
and like the first second round pick. And like draft pool money, we have the most draft pool money by far than any other team in the MLB. So we might potentially just have the best farm system coming up like next year.
Well, and also we have like one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, right? Between
Of course.
Between our starters, 1 through 5, and our bullpen, the Los Bomberos as they're calling themselves.
Yeah, firefighter.
Which I think is a silly name, but that's whatever. And then they like tried to make some moves. Like I think the idea was that they just wanted to bring in consistent guys, and if you just have like a consistent lineup, like they don't have to have like superstar numbers, but if you're just like a consistent lineup, if you can put up 3-4 runs a game and you have an absolute stacked pitching staff, then you're gonna like win. You're gonna win most games, right?
To me, I think they're doing something similar to what the 2015 Cubs did when they won the World Series, where the majority of the talent, like the main core of the team, is for the most part either homegrown talent or traded into talent acquired, and now they're building up their like names and their brands all through their arbitration and renewable contract periods, right?
I feel like the only thing about that though is that if you compare it to like the Cubs had so many more like name brand guys, like guys that like I guess name brand's not the right way of saying it, like household names on their team, right? And just in terms of like, I mean, for us it's just Julio. Like, does anyone else know anyone else? Like,
household name. I'm gonna argue that these guys all became household names after they won the World Series and not before. Realistically,
I don't know. Like Chris Bryant was Rookie of the Year. Anthony Rizzo was like a household name.
He won that Rookie of the Year their World Series winning year. And Anthony Rizzo broke out as a superstar the year before, which Ty France did last year, right? And when you look at the additions they've made to the team, they've just been like complementary pieces to not basically butt heads with the talent that's already there. So they acquired Tio, who is of the same nationality as Julio Rodriguez. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Tio seems to get along with literally every single person on the planet, which is also pretty much the Mariners brand. So love that acquisition. And then obviously I know we acquired him at the trade deadline last year, but I'm still going to consider Luis Castillo a like 2023 acquisition.
Well, yeah, and they re-signed him to like the longer contract, like right at the end of last year, right?
They locked him up for the 5-year contract, and that is something that they would have had to do in free agency if they didn't go acquire him and get the exclusive contract period or like exclusive negotiation period beforehand, right? So to say the Mariners didn't do anything during this offseason is kind of a fallacy. They just kind of did it before the actual quote unquote off season started.
Well, and also it's just like, I think part of it too is that, part of it too is just like, it's what's the word I'm thinking for? It's kind of like hindsight bias to some extent too, in terms of just like the first like 7 games of the season is like all the moves that they made, other than you could say like the signing of Luis Castillo, like just haven't paid off. And that's because, and you can only say that because those guys haven't been producing. I think I saw a tweet that was like after the first game of the Angels series that it was like Julio, Ty, Gino, and Cal were like 23 for 74 through those games. Yeah. So they were batting like essentially they were batting 300 through the first 4 games, and then everyone else on the team was 8 for 86, which is under 100, right? And like obviously some of the players have kind of had a good game or two since then, right? I mean, I think it was the game after that we put up 11 runs on the Angels, and Teoscar hit 2 home runs. and AJ Pollock hit 2 home runs, and so like those averages will kind of balance it out. But it's like, yeah, I mean, if you look at the team totals right now, it's been a really rough start to the season batting wise, and it was a rough season last year batting, and it was a rough season the year before that. And so it's like I get the frustration, but also like, it's such a small sample size, and just like to say like, oh yeah, the guys are not having a hot start to the season. Yeah, Colton Wong only has 1 hit. Teoscar has 4 hits. They're like the team batting average is 222. I'm looking here at Baseball Reference. I don't know if this includes today's game against the Angels, but they put up 3 runs against the Angels today. Ended up losing 4-3, and
I mean they played.
Ty's hitting great though. Julio is hitting pretty good to start the season. Cal Raleigh is absolutely. He might be the best, most valuable catcher in the league right now, just based on his production and what he brings behind the plate. I mean, aside from a mistaken throw in one of the Cleveland games earlier, right, that cost them a couple runs, but
yeah,
I definitely think that it's a lot of overreaction from the
for sure
from the fan base so far.
Another guy that I think actually looks pretty good so far is really important player to the franchise. Jared Kelenic looks a lot better than he has in previous years. Obviously, he's not hitting 500, but he looks good.
Yeah, I think he had a great it's kind of almost becoming a meme at this point, right? And we're a little bit like too far past spring training to talk about spring training. But like spring training, Jared Kelenic is like such a meme, and he just absolutely raked in spring training, right? Like he's done, I think the year before too or whatever. And I think that'll eventually translate. And I think he's going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries, at least on the Mariners roster, of the limiting of the shift. And so, like, obviously, we've already. What's that?
I totally agree with that.
And like, so he was like really hurt by the shift as a pull lefty. The shift like really crushed him, I think, over the first couple years of his Major League Baseball career, and you saw it in spring training, and I think we're eventually going to see it at the Major League level. That he's going to hit well. And, I say the limiting of the shift instead of the banning of the shift because I'm sure you've noticed. I haven't seen it as much in Mariners games, but I have been seeing it more like around the league where it's like instead of the second baseman or the shortstop being like on the other side of the base, they'll like literally line up almost exactly with the base. And then essentially it's a shift, but it's just not as heavy as a shift as it was previously, but they're just eating up all the balls up the middle and leaving a giant gap especially between like third and second base because the lefties are just not hitting it over there, right?
Something that I have noticed quite a bit watching games across the league, not just Mariners games at all, is that infield defense, especially middle infield guys like shortstops and second basemen, don't look nearly as good as they did last year. It's almost like they've been fielding with training wheels for so long over the last couple seasons that they like almost don't know how to field their positions as well anymore.
Well, you know what I think too that'll kind of fix that over time is I think what you just said is that they'll just get used to that now, but also like they'll figure out the best statistically best places to play on the field because now they're just kind of like trying to do like a quasi shift, right? And it's probably like throwing them off a little bit. Whereas eventually they'll figure out that's like, oh, actually, if you don't stand in line with second base, but if you stand, 6 feet off second base or a little bit further behind or play a little bit in or what, they'll figure out once they have like all the numbers crunched, where's the best place to stand on that side of the bag to result in the best fielding. Because essentially that's what happened with that's why the shift came about, right? Is because they figured out that statistically, the best place for you to be standing to field the ball against a lefty or to field the ball against a righty is not in your traditional position, but on the other side of the bag. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I think Jared Kelenic is going to be definitely one of the biggest beneficiaries of it. I think before we get into more talking about it, we should do our traditional best thing you saw and worst thing you saw this week. I've got mine on the top of my mind if you need time to think, Nick, but do you have a best thing or a worst thing you saw?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure, go first.
So I'm going to go best thing I saw this week. This is 100% me being selfish. So for leading up to this, we this year are now doing a fantasy baseball league. which we have not done before. And the only Mariner I have on my fantasy team is Teoscar Hernandez. So my best thing is Teo finally breaking out of a slump and hitting 2 home runs yesterday.
Yeah, how many points did that get you?
Fucking tank shots.
He did. They were absolutely crushed. How many points did he net you on that day on yesterday?
So he actually netted me 0 points because that was
Woof.
the day that I decided that I didn't think he was going to break out of his slump anytime
No,
soon.
you benched him?
I benched him.
Oh, you hate to see it.
So
I didn't even know you did
on the
that.
16 points he posted that day, but that's fine, I guess.
My lineup was a little scuffed today. I didn't realize that they played early games today, and also that there were a bunch of games postponed. So like I had guys like DJ LeMahieu that actually played and got points on my bench, and then guys that like had their games postponed on my
same thing
in my active lineup.
I'm actually really annoyed with it. I don't feel like the MLB app does a good enough job of telling you what's going on with delays and when games are going to be postponed or canceled or whatever for that. And so 3 of my players, Manny Machado, Hunter Green, and Jonathan India, just didn't play today. So I just missed out on so many points. I missed out on at least 15 points from my bench today as well.
That sucks. Yeah, I don't think I was 15. I don't think it was as high as 15 for me, but I definitely would have preferred to have those guys in the lineup. I'll do my best thing I saw. I actually think this is very interesting because I think it's going to go into a little bit of what we're going to maybe talk about for a little bit is some of the rule changes. And so obviously Major League Baseball has instituted the pitch clock. And I think the best thing I saw was actually on opening day when the pitch clock got the Mariners fans into the game against the Guardians. Obviously everyone that was watching this obviously knows it, but it was it was the pitcher for the Guardians. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. It's like Karinchak or something like that.
Yeah, you just know that.
Yeah,
I think it's
Karinchak. Okay.
I think it's Karinchak.
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 Karinchak. Anyway, so he was pitching and he got a shot clock violation. I don't know what else to call it. A pitch clock violation, which was a free ball for whoever he was going. I think it was against JP. And it was kind of a pretty scuffed at bat, anyways, because I want to say in the same at bat, the umpire missed a foul tip for strike 3, that Mike Zunino ended up catching. Obviously, also a best thing I saw this week, Mike Zunino back in Safeco. It's like, or not Safeco, T-Mobile. It's always just like a little treat, I feel like. Whenever we get to see a Mike Zunino game, it's always just like, oh man, I missed that guy. What a little treat. Yeah, he did. But anyways, with the pitch clock and Kerchak, apparently he's like one of the guys that's like has the slowest windup, and one of the biggest reasons that Major League Baseball wanted to institute the pitch clock is for a guy like this that takes like 6 years between each pitch. And he was getting so rattled, and it was so great to hear T-Mobile Park and the fans at T-Mobile just like chanting down the pitch clock. And he, like, I want to say the next pitch he threw after he got the pitch clock violation was like over Mike Zunino's head, or like maybe Mike Zunino like barely was able to catch it, but he just couldn't find the zone, and he was absolutely rattled. So I kind of like, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel in particular about the pitch clock. I will say this, I've loved the pace of the game so far. I want to say that first game was done in like 2 hours and 14 minutes, like chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. I do not need to be watching a baseball game for 3.5 to 4 hours. Like,
no, it's way more fun.
2:15 to 2:30 is the perfect time for a baseball game. A nice, brisk, like 3-2 pitching duel. Like that's what I want. That's what I want to see. I do not need to see the long ass games where pitchers are taking forever between pitches. And I think I would like to see, there's been a lot of like critiques, I think, around the league of like, the umpires being a little bit sticklers, or like, I think there was it the Mets player that got the penalty for not getting back to, it was like Pete Alonso, right? That didn't get back to the base fast enough. And so like the batter got a strike on him and it was strike 3 or something like that. So like that stuff is a little bit kind of tight. Like, I don't know. You don't want to see that happen, especially like maybe in the postseason. But what I did enjoy and what I didn't anticipate in terms of the pitch clock, I knew it would speed up the game. but I didn't anticipate that it would give another avenue for the fans to get engaged in the game by like counting down the pitch clock like it's a college basketball game, right? And I thought it was like a great atmosphere that you could even tell on TV in that opening day game, and it helped that it was a sellout and all that jazz, right?
That's
But
really funny that you bring that up because we went to game 2 and 3, and during game 3, Karachik came in and they started doing that, and I thought they didn't do that for anybody else in the game, and I didn't watch game 1 because I was at work, unfortunately.
Okay.
Just watched the highlights, so I didn't know that happened, but they started doing that, and I thought he looked rattled in that game 3 as well.
Really, he pitched well though. I think though I think he got like a strikeout or two in his other appearance in that series.
Pitched a lot better.
But he looked rattled. Okay, I didn't notice him looking rattled. I did see in that game that they were counting down, and I've heard it a few different times. The Mariners fan, like in more intense situations, starting to count down the pitch clock. I have enjoyed the fact that it hasn't burnt us. Like I think if I was a fan of a team where like the pitch clock was like really hindering the success of my team, it would bother me, but it's totally been in our favor so far. So I fucking love the pitch clock. Like give me more pitch clock.
Cheering for the most part is hindering people. Actually, in my mind, I feel like it's helping because you don't have to look at it. You just know because the crowd's doing it for you.
It's so visual though. Like, I mean, you can tell me at the ballpark. I feel like it's so visual that it wouldn't matter if the crowd was counting it down or not. Like you'd be able to see it.
I probably wouldn't notice it because I'm fucking blind. But I feel like for most baseball players with 20/20 vision, they're probably fine.
Yeah, I will say this also. I haven't seen anyone try and do this yet, but there's like the classic college basketball move where like the audience, the fans start counting down not in line with what's actually on the clock. So if the clock is at like 10 seconds left on the pitch clock, the fans start counting down at 5 to like try and rush the pitcher or whatever, and like kind of make them think
they should do. But I guess Mariners fans have too much integrity.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we're a higher integrity fan base. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
sure.
Just a classy fan base from top to bottom. One of the best in all of baseball. So I will say this: I actually firmly believe that when Mariners fans come out and Safeco Field is packed, like I think it's one of the best atmospheres in baseball. And I do really like. I think we don't have crappy fans. Like unlike cities like Houston and New York and Boston and Philadelphia, like who have just atrocious fan bases. Like I think the Mariners fan base is pretty great. So like that's my best thing. That's my best thing I saw this week was the fan base getting into that first game using the pitch clock. It was unexpected. I didn't think that was going to be a thing that was going to happen.
That's funny. So you saying that really made me think of actually really memorable moment to me. So when we went to game 2, the first game we went to on the air, so they're about to throw the first pitch, and you almost hear every single fucking person in the entire stadium looking around going, where's the shot clock? Where's the shot clock? Where's the shot clock? And it's the first pitch, so they don't need it there yet because he's got as much time as he needs to throw it, right? So after he throws the first pitch, it shows up and almost like you just hear collective like oh.
That's funny. It's like everyone's just trying to adjust to it and get to see it. That's cool.
Everyone was so excited to see where it was going to be and like what it was going to look like from their seats and everything. I thought that was kind of fun.
To me, it's already paid off. The games have been at more appropriate length. It's benefited the Mariners. It's created fan engagement.
I think it's way more compelling with the shot clock. I think the 30 seconds with the batter needing to be in at 8 just the pace of play feels so much better. And I don't mean just like the wrapping it up in 2:15 or wrapping it up in 2:30, right? I just think the less time in between pitches and like the shorter time of a length of an at bat is super fucking important to keeping the fans engaged, most importantly.
Yeah.
And it's just it feels so good. It's so much more fun to watch. Like if I want to watch a Julio at bat, I can get that wrapped up in a minute and a half, and it doesn't take 5 minutes per at bat anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so good. I love it.
I don't know if you have a worse thing that you saw this week. The worst thing I saw, I mean, there's probably some Mariners stuff I could point out. Like there was the in the Guardians game and in the tight game where, Cal Raleigh tried to avoid, like threw the ball away, which was like such a dumb play in the sense of like, I just feel like catchers are taught, and this was a weird one too, where I feel like catchers are taught that if a runner is in the base path, like throw the ball in the base path and just hit the runner, right? Because if you try and go around them and then like there's a mistake, like the umpires are not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Whereas if like a runner is running in the base path, which that the runner was, it actually just reminded me of another best thing I saw. Just with the Guardians popping in my head because I was like, was that Jose Ramirez? Anyways, like Cal
spinning like a top.
Yeah, that was gonna say that another best thing I saw was Matt Brash spinning Jose Ramirez. I mean, that's just insane. Like that might be like the highlight of the season, like the best play of the season, and it literally happened on opening day.
So, obviously that happened, and Sarah texts us was basically like, "Oh, of course you wanted me to first pick this shitter, right?" And so I was like,
I can't believe you didn't pick him. Wait, did he get picked before you had a pick? Because that's like your guy.
That was my first pick. I wanted Jose Ramirez so fucking bad. I'm like, I don't care who I get in the entire draft. All I want is Jose Ramirez.
I know. I was like, that's your dude, and he just absolutely got embarrassed by Matt Brash.
No, for sure. But so I went and watched the highlight, and that was one of the nastiest pitches I've ever seen in my entire life. I just immediately went and picked up Brash on my fantasy team.
Yeah, he absolutely sent him to the shadow realm. Anyways, yeah, so that was definitely a mistake from Cal. And maybe the worst Mariners thing I saw, just because like I feel like he's better than that. And I realize that this is only his second full season, or is this his second full season, right? Did he start with the team at the beginning of last year?
Oh, Brash?
No, I'm thinking of Cal Raleigh. Is this Cal's first full season as a Mariner?
I think this is his first full season because he hasn't been sent down yet. But I think this is technically his third season.
Did he start? I was just thinking of like when I say like full season, I was just thinking like, did he start the season with the Mariners? So he started the season with the Mariners last.
I think he started the season with the Mariners last year.
Okay, I just couldn't remember.
He literally went like 0 for 60 at the beginning of the year last year. I mean, everyone was calling him a failure.
Yeah, so that was a mistake from him, and I kind of feel like he knows better. Like he's such a good defensive catcher that just like I don't know, just like. There's just no reason to throw the ball away. Like just plunk if like just make your normal throw. If it hits the runner in the back, it automatically means he was in the base path by default, and then he's out, right? And that's I don't know. Or he just could have eaten it too. I feel like I've seen I feel like there's been a lot of bad fielding just around the league that I've been seeing. I don't know, maybe this is just like recency bias and it seems like it's more this year than last year, but I've just seen a lot of plays where it's just like, just eat the ball. Like just pick up the ball, put it in your pocket. Like
defense this year looks fucking terrible, and maybe it's all because of the shift and like because the shift was such a big deal and it improved fielding numbers so fucking much.
Well, and it just made fielding so easy because you were in the perfect position.
Say that again?
I said, and it just made fielding so easy, right? It's like a no-brainer because you were in the perfect position.
It's defense with training wheels, and now the training wheels are off. So I think a big aspect of it is like middle of the infield, good defensive wizards are going to look better and they're going to stand out better than their contemporaries who are more mediocre, and we're getting higher numbers because of the shift.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen with our guy, JP Crawford, to see if he's a better or worse defender, because he is 100% a shift shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is too is that he's already kind of been on the decline defensively. I mean, he was a Gold Glover to he had a pretty bad defensive season last year.
Was bad.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He was a below average defender last year. So
not even close to being above
we'll
average.
see. Anyways, I was going to say, I don't know if you saw this video, Nick, but probably the worst thing I actually saw. And I kind of just hate ballpark proposals. I will say this. I love ballpark marriages. I think the idea of having your wedding at a ballpark is super awesome. But ballpark proposals, I kind of hate. And I don't know if you saw the one that happened. I think it was at Dodger Stadium where they're in the outfield and the guy gets down onto the field. He literally hops the fence, goes down on the field, runs, 20 yards out there, and then turns around, gets on one knee, holds up the ring, and then immediately just gets mowed over by stadium security. Just absolutely murdered. Did you see that video?
No, but that's just...
Oh, you have to look that one up. I think I was going to say that's the worst thing I've seen, only because I just hate the ballpark proposals so much. And if you're going to do it, just pay the money to freaking put the name on the screen. It's like, why? What's the point of proposing at a ballpark? And now you're never going to be allowed to enter a major league ballpark again in your life. Like, like, congratulations, idiot. You spent an evening in jail. Apparently the girl said yes, so, congratulations, whatever, getting married. But you're spending an evening in jail, and now you're not even allowed to go back to the location, like, legally. You're legally not allowed to go back to the location where you proposed to your, fiance, future wife. So, I don't know. Like,
well,
bizarre.
It's California, and maybe they're Angels fans, and they didn't never plan on going back to Dodger Stadium.
I'm pretty sure you're banned from all stadiums. I think they like have league-wide bans.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, obviously, I've never run out onto a field, so I wouldn't know. But that, I mean, it could be. I have no clue.
Yeah, I think it was, who was it? I was watching John Boy, and I think he was kind of saying that he's like, when he was a kid, he used to love and he used to be excited when someone would storm the field. And now as an adult, and I really resonate with this, he's like, now as an adult, he's like, I kind of hate it. He's like, I now actively root against. He's like, as a kid, I used to root for the person on the field to like try and get away. And he's like, I actively root for stadium security now to take those guys out.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think I'm a little jaded by that. I think I'm totally jaded by that because now I manage a building, and part of my responsibilities is like literally kicking out teenagers and children that sneak into our movies, right?
Yeah.
And I'm doing it all the time now.
Really? That happens a lot, huh?
It happens so much. We actually have like a couple of groups of kids that just like come in all the time, and it's on site. If I see them, I'm like, get the fuck out.
That's so funny.
And sometimes, like, if they make it into a movie, if they make it into an auditorium, it's so much harder to get rid of them, because if they don't leave altogether, I need to get that last person out, and then where did everybody else go? Did they go into a different auditorium? And so I play like fucking whack-a-mole or Scooby-Doo chase scenes.
Can't you guys just get like I don't know, like a restraining order or something? Like some sort of like, I don't know, have them arrested for trespassing? I don't know.
Oh no, I mean, we're totally at that point. I don't want to do it. I'm like, this is not worth it. Stop coming here. It's on site. If I see you, I'm kicking you out. And last time I talked to them, I was like, if I see you and I don't come and talk to you, I'm calling the cops. So you better know to get out if I see you, or you can stick around, but you're getting trespassed.
That's so funny.
You choose.
Dang, you're the cranky old.
I know.
You're the cranky adult now.
I'm the cranky old fucking guy that's kicking out teenagers. It fucking blows.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. That's a good thing. Did you have a worse thing that you saw this week? Okay.
So total recency bias for me. Worst thing I saw in baseball this week. I'm gonna go yesterday or today, literally today, when Gino hits in Julio and then gets fucking Toblerone on the base pass. What are you doing? What a fucking rally killer. I mean, it's obviously not his fault they lost that game, but I'm 100% blaming Gino for killing the fucking rally by fucking getting out, going from first to second.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, like maybe this is too old school of me, and like I get that there's like a time to take risks and whatnot, but like base running,
90 fucking feet, dude. Come on.
Base running errors and base running mistakes or whatever.
Now? It's 86 feet now because the bases are bigger. What are you doing?
Shit, good point. But I was gonna say that just base running errors just crush me. Just like little mental mistakes. It's just like you're doing something so well. You got to hit, you got to walk, whatever. You had a good at bat, and then you're just gonna like ruin it on, getting caught stealing or making a base running mistake. Like I'm sure you saw today, former Mariner prospect Tyler O'Neill, right? With the St. Louis Cardinals, he got benched. He got pulled from the game because he tried to go second to home and got cooked at home by
Cunha?
Ronald Acuna Jr. He got cooked at home by Ronald Acuna Jr. and he got pulled from the game, and the coach basically like called him out in the post-game press conference, just being like, that level of effort is not what we strive for as a Cincinnati Cardinal, like blah blah blah. Or St. Louis Cardinal, and I was like, oh damn, like, I mean that's not good. That's pretty bad though. Like you're already like dogging it on the base paths and not giving a full effort, like on game 7. Like, come on, that's pretty bad.
No, I totally listened to that radio broadcast today, and I listened to him get called out at home, and I was like, oh, that's okay, whatever. And then the next inning, they're like, hey, Tyler O'Neill's not coming out. Looks like he's being taken out of the game. I'm like, oh, that's weird. I kind of just assumed he was injured.
No, he's in the doghouse.
Did not do that situation justice at all.
I think it wasn't clear because I don't think obviously the manager didn't say anything about it until the post-game press conference, but he kind of gave this whole thing that's just like, you have to have effort out there on the base paths, and if you're not going to put in the effort, you're not going to be in the game. Yada yada yada.
Of course. Fuck him.
I'll say another worst thing I've seen. I feel like I've named this as the worst thing many times, but just rainouts, postponements, like just build a roof. Build a goddamn roof. On opening day of the Padres was supposed to be a day game. It's supposed to be like a noon game. And so many bars around the city I saw had like.
What do you think the Mariners roof is? What do you
What's
think
that?
the investment cost is?
I don't know. 100 million? I don't know. What is money? What is numbers? I don't know.
Just structure that moves. I think that's like $1 billion investment right there.
How much? I'm gonna Google this. How much does T-Mobile T-Mobile Park roof cost? Anyways, every ballpark should have a roof. Every ballpark. The ballpark costs $517 million to build.
That's a lot of money. That's more than 517 Oakland Athletics lineups. Oh, calling the Oakland Athletics out.
Oh wait, here's from right. This is cost to operate the roof.
Also, that's another thing. I was wondering about this while at the game the other day.
$15 complete site. Wait, this is what I found so far.
$15 to move it back and forth? Really?
There's a trivia question during the game. I remember it being only $7 to open it and close it. I don't know how much it costs, but it's just like everyone needs a roof. So as I was saying, the Padres here in San Diego, they had like a ton of bars had like a promotion where it's like, come and have breakfast with us, and then we'll bus you to the game. Well, we've had terrible weather here in San Diego the last like 3 weeks. It's been raining like crazy, which is good for California, but bad for fun. And they had to delay the start of the game from like noon all the way until like a 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. start time. And it just like totally, I don't know, just build a roof, man. Like,
they canceled the game today because my guy Machado didn't get a single point on my fantasy team.
I don't know. I don't know if they were home. It didn't rain today.
What happened?
It didn't rain today. Let's see. They were at Atlanta, and I think Atlanta did get rained out, right?
No, the Padres definitely couldn't have been at Atlanta because Atlanta was facing St. Louis today. Or were they just traveling today?
No, yeah, today. It was supposed to be today at 4:20. Padres Braves rain out.
What? No,
Yeah.
no way.
Yes way.
Did the Braves have a doubleheader today?
Well, there's gonna be a doubleheader, so all the games that got like rained out on the 7. Oh wait. Oh no, the Padres were off today.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm looking at the wrong days. Yeah, today is 4:20.
Yeah.
But like a bunch of the games that got rained out, they're going to be having doubleheaders on the 7th on Friday. There's going to be doubleheaders for a bunch of the games that got rained out. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I think that does it for best thing, worst thing. I guess we go into the new. We've kind of already talked about it. I think kind of interesting. Maybe interesting to just like kind of cover is like the rule changes and what we think. We kind of already talked about the shift. I feel like we're both down. Like, do we like how the new anti-shifting rules, or would you rather just see shifting? I kind of think that you should just be allowed to. I'm gonna like, maybe this is just wrong, but I kind of don't think that there should be a rule that says like position players have to stand in a specific place, right? Like, I think if you wanted, you should be allowed to have, I think if you wanted, you should be allowed to have like 7 guys all standing in right field. Like, I don't know.
I do think it's over the top, but I think it's more interesting. I just think it's healthier and it's easier to follow for the casual fan when things like that aren't happening on the field. It just keeps it simpler. And also I think it does improve the offense. I mean, Jared Panik's getting hit, so clearly it's helping.
I mean, in theory, it should help improve offense. That's true. That's true. What about we already talked about the pitch clock. I think we're both big fans of the pitch clock.
sure.
I definitely think that like the umpires being such hardos, like you kind of have to, right? Because if it's just like if you're not being strict about the pitch clock, like what's the point of the pitch clock? But also like I do think it really sucks that if the runner on first base is too slow to get back to first base, like if the pitcher gets ready before the runner gets back to first place, like it costs the batter a strike.
I think that's really strange. I think that's bad. That's bad competitive integrity by the pitcher to do that.
But I don't know if it's necessary. I don't think, at least in the case I saw with the Mets, it wasn't the pitcher. The pitcher just like got up and like for sure, Pete Alonso took a long time to get back. But I think you can give like a warning, like especially when it's base runner stuff. Like I would say a warning the first time, and then like maybe the second time, like you're out. I just don't think it should be like I don't think it should affect the batter because of what's happening, what the base runners are doing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I don't know. I think that's silly. I think generally you should be sprinting down to first every time. And so if the guy running to first needs an extra fucking 20 seconds to get back in the box because he's fucking sprinting down to first, then give him 20 fucking seconds. Who cares?
So you mentioned the bigger bases.
For sure.
What do you think about the bigger bases rule? Right, increase the base size from 15 to 18 inches.
I like bigger bases. Ty France stole third the other day.
He has 2 steals now. He went from having like what 0 steals in his major league career to 2 steals.
Oh, did he steal another one today?
I think he sold today or yesterday. He sold third again. I think he has 2 steals now. He just wants his speed rating up. His speed rating in MLB The Show is always trash. He just wants that. He wants that up.
For a really long time, always called Kyle Seager Wheels because he would always talk about being sneaky fast.
I called him Tommy Pickles because he looked like a giant rugrat.
I know that, but I like to call him Wheels because he's a speed demon. So is Ty France the new Wheels?
Could be. Or what's wheels in French? Wheels in French. Rousses.
Oh, doesn't sound as good.
Roo. I'm playing this. You probably can't hear it, but the podcast definitely can't wait. Roo. Never mind. Move on from that. I will say this. It was in theory it was supposed to avoid injuries, but Jazz Chisholm Jr., cover athlete for MLB The Show this year, just hurt himself. He got a stinger today, sliding into second base. Yeah, he got the curse. He got the cover athlete curse. Pickoffs. I kind of don't like this rule, the new disengagement rule, where the pitcher is only allowed to have 2 disengagements from the mound.
I think that's only happening because of the pitch clock. I feel like if the pitch clock didn't happen, they wouldn't have put that into place.
Well, I think yes, you're right. I just think that it's like, so if you do 2 pickoffs, all of a sudden you can't throw over there anymore. Like, I don't know. It's just like one of those things where it's like
you have to record the out or the runner gets the bag.
Right. Wait.
So if you record the out on throw 3.
Okay, but what if you throw over on throw 3 and you don't get the out? Do they get second base?
Yeah, they advance.
See, I kind of don't like that. Like, I think that I just kind of what I think is that you just, I don't know. I just don't like the idea that like a pitcher can throw over twice and then all of a sudden the base runner essentially knows like, okay, they're definitely not going to throw over here or they're going to automatically award me a base.
Funny. So have you seen Futurama?
I just haven't seen it come into practice yet, but like just on paper, it doesn't sound like a rule that I like.
You've watched Futurama, right?
Barely.
So there's a very famous Futurama episode where they go to a baseball game, but it's not baseball in the future. It's called Blurns Ball. And it's basically just like baseball with ridiculous rules and blah, blah, blah. All a bunch of silly things are happening, and this player did this, so the other team gets 3 home runs and shit like that. Uh-huh. And I do think that the runner, like the pitch clock violation for strikes and balls, and the base runner violations for advancing a bag or being out, it's very Blurns Ball-y, and I think that's really fucking funny.
That is kind of funny. If
they continue to go down the Blurns Ball avenue, I would actually really enjoy that.
I think the only other rule change was the position players pitching, which I think the rule used to be that you could only have a position player pitch when you're up by 6 or when there's a 6-run difference, and now it has to be a 10-run difference, which I feel like I only ever really saw it when it was a double-digit difference, so I don't know how much that exactly is going to change anything. I don't know. I like the idea of all these rules. I just don't like the idea of like giving umpires more reasons to be super hardos, because like baseball referees, baseball umpires are already, like, in my opinion, the worst. Maybe aside from college basketball referees.
See, the problem
one of the worst
with baseball
officiators
umpires is that you still think you're watching baseball when actually you're watching umpire ball now with a shot clock.
That's
This is
true.
premium umpire ball time. This has never happened before. The umpire has more control over what they can do and say to players than ever before.
Well, that's the thing too, so that reminds me, in terms of like the stupid umpire stuff. Did you see like JT Real Muto getting thrown out of a spring training game because the umpire tried to hand him the ball and he didn't realize it and pulled his glove away, and so like the umpire threw him out? Like that was, I mean, that's just like
things I've ever seen.
I know, that's just like what I'm talking about when I'm saying like umpire, like the officiating in baseball is maybe the worst of all sports.
Oh, they're the worst. They're the absolute
Like,
worst.
I just don't want to give them more power and more control over the game. And that's like what this looks like, right? Like, could you imagine, Game 7 of the World Series, Mariners, Luis Castillo is going to pitch. It's a 3-2 count, bases loaded. He's about to, throw the most important pitch in Mariners baseball history. And
They throw 'em out.
like the shot clock hits 0, right? Because it's such an intense moment. He's not paying attention to the shot clock, and the pitch clock hits 0, and all of a sudden he walks in like the game tying run or something like that because of that. Like that would just be absolutely sickening. Absolutely sickening.
Oh no, I totally agree. So one thing about the umpires that I think is worth mentioning. I don't know if this is true. This is 100% true as far as I'm aware. But I saw something somewhere. Again, don't know the validity or the truth behind it. That
Okay,
the
I already like this
majority
already.
of baseball umpires are former police officers. So maybe it's some sort of like, I always want control aspect that they have just from being former police officers.
Could be. I mean, that's definitely like a common thread, right? Anyways, have you seen what they're doing in terms of umpiring at the minor league level? Or did you hear on the broadcast at least?
No, but have you seen the Gina comics?
No. What are those?
We would be bad Mariners fans to do a Mariners baseball podcast without talking about the Gina comics on Reddit.
Gina comics?
You've never seen the famous Mariners fan Gina?
Women making comics, Gina. I'm gonna have to look this up. This might have to be like a future episode discussion.
Well, I don't think you can show it on the podcast, because it explicit. So the very first Gina comic is about Gina helping Jared Kelenic get his groove back by having.
Oh my God, I have seen that, and she's like a bigger girl or something like that.
Yes, that's Gina.
Oh wait, I have totally seen that, but I didn't realize it's like a series now. She's made multiple of these.
There's only 2 as far as I know.
Oh, okay. I saw that first one. Yes, yeah. That was hilarious.
The second one just came out, and it's not at all to do with Jared Kelenic. It's about the MLB rule changes, and it's like an ad reel of Manfred.
Yep, Rob Manfred
talking about the new rules, and one of the new rules in the Gina comic.
I've totally seen this.
Yes, so Manfred, so the umpires get spanked by their mom on live television, like bare ass on live television. Really good. I love that rule.
That would be fantastic. Anyways, so I'm guessing you didn't see what's happening at the minor league level. So on Monday, I guess Monday is going to be an off day every single week, or every single week for the minor leaguers. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there'll be no umpire behind home plate. The robo ump will completely be calling balls and strikes. And then on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there'll be a challenge system where the umpire will be calling balls and strikes, but each the batting team, the catcher, and the pitcher each have like 2 challenges or 3 challenges for the whole game or something. Like each team has 3 challenges for the whole game. And if you think a call is wrong, you can essentially challenge the call. And if you win your challenge, you get to keep it, right? So if the pitcher's like, no, that was a strike, not a ball, I challenge the call, then all of a sudden, immediately in their ear, the umpire gets, and I think they've also been showing it up on the screen, the umpire gets the call from the robo-ump, and, whether it's a ball, strike, whatever, right? Which I think it's interesting. I guess Dan Wilson, I think, was saying on the broadcast that he likes that the system works really well in terms of the challenge system. But I kind of question, what's the point? Like, if you're going to use the robo-umps for the challenge system, and it's just as fast to have robo-umps just call the whole game, like, why not just have robo-umps call the whole game? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I think ump ball is obviously really fucking stupid and actually really funny. But I do think that's a really interesting system. I do think as far as calls going on the black, whether or not they go pitcher's way or batter's way, is really interesting. And when the umpires are consistent about it, it makes for a really interesting game to see the established strike zone and everything. So I don't actually totally mind that. I think a lot of casual fans and just baseball fans in general think that the black is the black, and it should be a strike or a ball based off the black, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how baseball's played. It's all about the established strike zone, and realistically, how that umpire is going to be umping the game after 2 or 3 innings, unless they just decide to change it up for some reason, right?
Yeah, unless they're Angel Hernandez.
Unless they're bad. Unless they're just Angel Hernandez, right? And I think I guess I just don't totally mind. And I think the idea of challenging pitches on pitches that are on the black and could realistically go either way, depending on who you ask, is kind of dumb. And I think I like the challenge system and what that kind of means for baseball, but only if it was for obvious pitches. Like if it was an obvious strike, they call the ball, you should be able to challenge that.
Well, and that's probably what they'll do, right? Because it's like the fact that you only get 3 challenges, and it's like, and if you are wrong, you lose your challenge, then like it should hypothetically be only used in cases where it's either like a very important situation, which that would kind of suck, right? Where it's like a pitcher is pitching to an established strike zone for 9 innings, right? Or for 6 innings, right? And then in a big moment, they throw a pitch that's by the robot, and that's a ball, right? That's been a strike all day, but it's technically a ball according to the robo umpire, and all of a sudden they don't get that call that they've been getting all day, right? So it's like, I think that is not a desired outcome. So that's why, at least in my mind, I'm kind of like, what's the point of the hybrid model if you're just gonna, like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, if you already have something that's supposedly perfect, and also that's the thing that you're using to correct the umpires in a challenge system, like, why not just use, I get it in a sport like tennis where, you have your challenges, and you still have lines people, right, that make calls, and then you have the ability to challenge like 3 times a set or something like that. But that's also because the pace of the game is so fast in terms of hitting balls back and forth that I don't think like a robo linesman in tennis can keep up with like the pace of the game. Whereas balls and strikes, there's now it's a cap of 30 seconds, right, in between each pitch, that you have plenty of time to
and everything.
To have the robo ump call every single pitch. So I don't know. I think it's fun. I will say this: the challenge system seems really fun. So maybe from like a drama standpoint, like that's an appealing reason for it. But in terms of like,
I think to me it really would depend on how fast the challenge system goes. So I really like.
Well, according to Dan Wilson, it's like almost immediate. So what happens is like if any player wants to challenge, they just tap the top of their head, and then almost immediately the umpire gets the correct call in their ear.
Interesting.
Which is like, I think how robo umps work. I'm pretty sure how the robo ump works is that you still have an umpire behind the plate because you need someone there to manage the game, right, for robo umps. But like the robo umps is that the pitch goes through, and then you immediately see on the screen, K or B, right? So I don't know. I don't know what the correct answer is. The hybrid model seems weird. I'm guessing that the robo ump is like the future, and maybe that's just like, maybe it's just kind of like it's a like a negotiation tactic, right, for like the umpires union or something, to be like, well, you're not totally losing your jobs, but eventually the robo umpires will, there'll be a challenge system, right? Like maybe it's like a middle ground between the traditionalists and the integrity of the game, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't totally know if I have too much to add for that.
Yeah.
I think obviously I'm pro robo ump because umpire ball is stupid.
Yeah. Stupid ump
but
show.
I would like to add that I think robo umping is pretty Blurns bally. So that's another step in the right direction for me.
That's a good point. I mean, we're starting to run a little long. Do you have any other like news topic you want to get into? Or should we wrap up with our MVPs of the week?
I guess my final wrap up comment, question, or topic point is going to be, since the season is basically over for the Mariners, and
that's true. What should we do going forward?
And it's time to abandon ship. Who are we trading? Which team are we trading? Who?
That's going to be really unfortunate.
What is the return for us?
If the Mariners season is dead, that's going to be really unfortunate for Amanda, because I'm pretty sure, didn't you just tell me before the podcast that she basically, her whole fantasy team is Mariners?
Yeah. Well,
I will know this. I don't know if we talked about this. So obviously we're hosting the All-Star game this year.
Yeah.
And they have the patches on the jerseys. I think the logo is pretty fire.
It's good.
I don't know. What would you rate on a quick reaction on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm gonna do a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then we're gonna say our scores. Okay. Just what you think. Okay, of the All-Star patch. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 8.5. 9. Okay. Wow, you're even higher than I am. I mean, I think it's a great logo. I'm so excited to have the All-Star game in Seattle. I think it's going to be amazing.
Be honest with you, I just said a number. I can't visualize.
No, that's good though. That's good though. Like you need that gut reaction. You need the gut reaction. That's the only way the system works. Is if you just say the number that comes into your brain. That's the only way the system works. Okay. I think it is. Before we give our MVPs of the week, I will say I think it's worth mentioning. Mariners go on the road for the first time, so we'll see. How the Mariners do on the road. Honestly, I want to say that we've been a pretty decent road team over the last few years. So maybe there's like something to that, like get away from Seattle, spend a little time on the road in the hotels, and a lot of fire under these guys. We do go to Cleveland. We'll finish. It's kind of okay. Oh, this is another strange thing too. We didn't really mention our opinions on the scheduling change this year.
I love it. I don't even
really.
Say that.
Oh, okay. Because I kind of hate it. Anyways, so we our first road series is against the Cleveland Guardians. We've already played 4 games against, and it'll be our final time seeing the Cleveland Guardians this year, unless we see them in the postseason. Because what's that?
I think the next series with them is 2 games, right?
No, it's 3 games. April 7th, 8th, and 9th. Yep.
Games with Cleveland?
Yep, 7 games with Cleveland. And it will be the last time we see Cleveland for the whole year, because Major League Baseball has changed scheduling this year, where now you play every single team in the league. And they did that by reducing the number of divisional games you play. I was kind of talking with Dad about this a little bit, and he said something that I agree with, in the sense that's like, I think it'll hurt teams' abilities to kind of come back in their division, right? If you fall behind early in your division, you won't have as many divisional games, because you're going from, I want to say, it used to be that you would get 19 games against each divisional opponent, so all 4 of your divisional opponents each year, and that's going all the way down to like 10 or something like that, 10 or 12. Like basically you're losing like 7 to 9 games against your divisional opponents. I probably did bad podcasting. I should have had the exact number, right? I think that sucks, in the sense that, like, say you fall super far behind, you're not going to have those direct games to like make up ground on the Astros, on the Angels, or whatever, right? Like, you're going to have to, rely on teams and instead of having your 19 games that you play against the Astros and 19 games you play against the Angels, you're going to have to rely on them losing games to other teams, instead of having, your direct direct hand in how those go. So that's kind of like my only thing. Like, I don't know. I just don't think there's I kind of liked that there was more. I do like interleague baseball, but I kind of liked that you focused more on playing games against your division or playing games against your conference. And I think, to me, the schedule is just like a little watered down now, playing every single team from the opposite league every single year, right?
I totally see where you're coming from, and I actually agree to an extent. But I think it makes divisional games matter more. And I think, to me, for my experience watching Mariners games, I cared less about watching divisional rivals because, one, I've seen these matchups more often than other teams, so it is less interesting to me, especially the farther into the season they go. How many games do I need to see of Oakland? I'm not interested in watching.
I don't know though. I mean, part of it though is like I kind of loved it though for that exact reason, is that like by game 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, it's like the other team in and out, and it's just become a great chess match, right? Instead of like what's the chess match with the Cleveland Guardians? It's like we literally play all 7 games with them at the beginning of the year, right? Like,
I don't like that. I think that's a huge scheduling mistake. I don't understand how that happened.
Yeah, because it's like, I mean, if the thing is like the team that we are in this first month of the season is not going to be the team we are, in a month from now, in 3 months from now, in 4 months from now, right? So it's like, it just sucks that, if we have a slow start to the season, Cleveland essentially is getting this whole benefit of playing us during our downtime. And it just so happened the way the schedule, I know it's all random and the way the scheduling works, yada, yada, whatever. I don't know. I kind of don't like it. I think it is cool that you get to see every team every year. Like, it's like, think about it. We play the Cubs. So we play a series against the Guardians, then we play a series against the Cubs, and we would never see the Cubs. We would see the Cubs once every 3 years, that we would go to Chicago once every 6 years. And now,
Mariners to face the Marlins.
I don't know. That's a great question. I do remember one time we saw them.
I've never seen a Mariners Mets game. It's never happened. I've never seen it.
A Mariners Marlins game?
Mariners Mets game.
That's just not true. We literally played the Mets last year. Yeah, we did. We played them in New York, in Queens.
That's not true.
Literally, Jesse Winker went back and tore up the Mets. We swept the Mets. Jesse Winker tore him a new one and and kissed and waved goodbye to the outfield.
No, that was Yankees for sure.
That was the Mets. It was the Mets. You're so wrong. Because, dude, no, he was on. It wouldn't have been the Yankees because he was on Cincinnati beforehand. So that's how he had already established his personal rivalry with the outfield Mets fans, with the left field Mets fans.
Maybe.
I guarantee you, I'm willing to bet my life savings on this.
I'm willing to.
All $5.
I'm not. Oh, okay. Go look it up.
I will after. I already know I'm right. I don't need to look it up because I know I'm right. All right. So that's our scheduling. That's our scheduling session. Okay. While you're looking that up, I'm gonna wrap this podcast up. I'm gonna give my player of the week, and I'm actually kind of glad I get to go first because I think the player of the week's a no-brainer. It's Luis Castillo. Like, what an absolute stud muffin. Just unstoppable. Absolutely unstoppable. 0 earned runs for those first 2 starts. I saw on Twitter that supposedly the velocity is down and it's a red flag. I don't care. I really don't care. He's cooking fools. He's absolutely his pitcher. He's been on fire.
Dumb take from people. People saying the velocity down. Velocity is always going to go down the older you get. And
especially at the beginning of the season, right? Like, you have to ramp up into mid-season form. Like, who comes out? I mean, unless you're Shohei Ohtani and you're like a secret robot, like a secret baseball cyborg. Like, Shohei Ohtani is actually, I think, maybe just the Terminator, right? Like, they just sent him. He was just sent back, and he was supposed to save the world from disaster, but he just somehow accidentally started playing baseball, and now we're spiraling towards the end of civilization, but we at least get Shohei.
I've always thought something similar about Mike Trout because, as you know, the Angels are evil. The Angels do nothing but antagonize the Mariners for no reason.
I will say this, honestly,
the good guys in baseball.
Maybe the biggest beneficiary of the new scheduling is the AL West teams that aren't the Angels, because you don't have to see Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, 19 times a year. It's only 10 times. Mike Trout can only hurt us 10 times a year now instead of 20.
He literally hurt us today. He came in for the scoring run.
I'm well aware. I mean, all he does is destroy the Mariners. Like, isn't his literally? He should have been the one that was like most vehemently opposing the scheduling change, because he's like, why? I only get like half the amount of games against the team that I have my career bests against. Anyways, yeah, my MVP, Luis Castillo LaPage, like he absolutely has dominated through his first 2 starts, and like he's gonna turn into must see television in the same way that like Felix Hernandez, like you always tuned into the Kings games, like it's gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same thing. I'm so glad that we have him. Sucks, obviously, Robbie Ray going down. Well, I mean, he's just a 15-day IL. I haven't heard anything. I don't know exactly what the results are gonna be for Robbie Ray,
you
but
didn't hear about this? There was a whole article about it.
no, I haven't.
It's an ego injury. Yeah, unfortunately, he has a bruised ego.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if he came down with a case of the suckies.
Yeah, yeah, he has a blown ego. Unfortunately,
Because he got lit up, right? He got lit up in his first start, and then came out like 2 innings into the game. Or how many he pitched? He pitched 3.1 innings. Pitched an inning and a third.
I think the Mariners are putting him on the 15-day IL as a precursor to the 162-day IL that he will soon be getting from the Mariners, as they start to realize that giving Robbie Ray a $125 million contract was fucking stupid.
He'll be fine.
And,
he'll be fine. We get to see Flex though. Like that's the best part of it. I also want to say I want to give 2 claps for Marco, beating Flex out for that number 5 starter spot. Also, 2 claps for Flex to already make it back into the starting rotation 1 week into the season.
No, yeah, good Flex. I love Flex.
Yeah, we are a pro Flex podcast.
You've really missed out by us not doing our podcast last year. Is me vehemently developing hatred for Robbie Ray, and I just wish there was a universe out there where the Mariners didn't acquire him last year, and I just want to kill.
I think that's crazy. I think that the remainder of the season will show that is a cold take.
I really hope you're right, and I think it's really important for the Mariners going forward that he pitches better than he is doing right now. So I would love that.
I'll give you my hot take for the season. It obviously didn't show out in his first start, but my hot take for the season is that Marco being left off of the postseason roster is going to light a fire under his ass, that he's going to be back to the old Marco this year.
I do, I think there's something really sincere about him saying that he had a bruised ego, because baseball players never do.
Dude, Marco's real, man.
No, super real.
Well, he's a real dude. He's a guy you got to have. The longest tenured Mariner on the team. He's a must-have guy. He is a no-brainer. I realize that it's maybe a tough decision between him and Flex, but in my opinion, absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, Marco's a real.
Wait, I didn't even realize Flexen. He pitched the whole game today.
No, definitely not, because they brought in.
Oh, he ended one game earlier. Okay, I got it. Anyways, who's your MVP for the week? Give us that before we get out of here.
I'm gonna pick someone other than Castillo just because you already took him.
I mean, you could take him. I mean, he'd be a well-deserving double MVP.
I don't think it's definitive. Obviously, I do think he's our ace and he deserves it, but I don't think it's definitive because he did only pitch 11.2 innings over his 2 starts, which realistically for an ace isn't that many.
That's fine though. Honestly, to counterpoint, it's the first 2 games of the season. You don't want to you're not trying to blow his arm out. He pitched a nice.
Is pick a different player so we don't say good things about the same guy over and over again for the podcast, you dork.
Oh shit. Okay.
So I'm gonna pick Tio. Because he's the only Mariner on my fantasy team.
167 BA
the other day, and I think there's a 0.10001% chance that he's one of our 6 viewers, And this boosts his confidence enough for him to get 2 more home runs in the next game, and then 2 more home runs in the game after that.
So
and he just the season with somewhere between 300 and 400 home runs. And
so because there's a non-zero chance that awarding him MVP of the week will help your fantasy team, you're gonna ruin the integrity of the MVP. Okay, I get it.
yes,
I mean, he's batting 167
with 2 home runs.
I mean, Ty France is batting 357. If you want something to compare it to,
Name another Mariner. That
Ty France has 2 stolen bases and 2 strikeouts. No, he has 1 home run, but he has 5 RBIs. As Teo
Name
has
another Mariner
2.
named Teo. Can't do it.
Touche.
Can't do it.
Touche.
Yeah.
I think I saw that AJ Pollock was only the 4th Mariner ever to have a name that's an animal name and hit a home run. So that's cool. Can you name any of the other 3?
Is it a bird?
Yeah, Pollock is it's some type of bird.
Cool. I didn't know that. All I know is Pollock is a painter.
The only one I knew on the list, I honestly don't even know if I can remember the other ones now. The only one I remembered was Mike Carp. All right, with that deafening silence, that's going to do it for this podcast. Great talking to you this week, Nick, and we'll be back next week for some more Mariners chit chat. Go M's.
Go M's. Love me some Mariners chit chat.
There's a drive, deep right field, say goodbye. Hey, Lloyd, do some delivery for the truck to the airport.